sattva, Arjuna, who does not abhor illumination, activity and delusion when they arise, nor longs for them when they cease. Shri Krishna describes the characteristics of a human being who is gunatit, beyond the three modes of nature. First, prakash, illumination, is mentioned, which is an activity of the mode of sattva, goodness. Second, pravrittam, activity, is mentioned, which is an activity of the mode of rajas, passion. And third, moham, delusion, is mentioned, which is an activity of the mode of tamas, dullness. Therefore, prakash, illumination, pravrittam, activity, and moham, delusion, are described. One who does not have any of these, and not only that, but one who neither considers them to be right or wrong, is gunatit, beyond the three modes of nature. After some understanding comes, then it will become clear. When prakash, illumination, pravrittam, activity, and moham, delusion, become manifest, then such a person is not repulsed by them, and when they go away, then one is not attracted to them. Such a person is gunatit, beyond the three modes of nature. This is the first characteristic. Before we go into the description of a person who is gunatit, beyond the three modes of nature, it is necessary for us to understand some spiritual gnan, wisdom, first, so we can understand the verses coming up more naturally. Our scriptures have described 7 fields for gnan, wisdom, and for a yogi. These are 7 fields on the path of yoga and of gnan, wisdom, and they are like stairs. They are equivalent to steps, and one has to walk on one step after another. In the Yog Vashisth Ramayana, these 7 steps are nicely described in 2 verses. Gnan bhumi shubhecha chakra samuddaruta vicharana dvitiyatu trutiya tanumanasa sattva aptisha chaterhisya tata ason sakti namika padartha bhavani shasti saptami tur yogashrita. There are 7 fields of wisdom that are the 7 steps to yoga. They are noble wishes, thinking deeply, the integration of body and mind, attainment of the truth, feeling of being unaffected, constant reveling in the realization of one's true self, and the realization that I am Brahman. I'll give the names of the 7 steps for the state of Gnan, wisdom, and yoga again in a line. So first, Shubhecha, noble wishes. Second, Vicharana, thinking deeply. Thirdly, Tanumanasa, the integration of the body and mind. Fourth, Sapta Apati, attainment of the truth. Fifth, Ason Sakti, the feeling of non-attachment. Then 6th, Padartha Bhavini, constant reveling in the realization of one's true self. And 7th, Turyaga, realization that I am Brahman. These are the 7 steps. One who wishes to become one form with God has to go through these 7 steps. The first step is Shubhecha. Shubhecha is not what we consider in its simple meaning of good wishes. What is Shubhecha? It is not good wishes. In Shubhecha, when the person on the path of yoga meets with 4 instruments, then it can be said that he has reached the state of Shubhecha. This is the first state. One needs 4 things. The first is that he needs vivek, discrimination. This is the ability to discriminate between right action and non-action. By discrimination, this does not mean creating a difference between the high and the low, and not the negative sense of discrimination. Discrimination here means when one knows what is right and what is wrong, and one begins to get the power to discriminate between right action and what is wrong action. When this comes, then this is the power of vivek, discrimination. This is the first necessity. One gets vivek, discrimination. The second thing that comes is vairagya, non-attachment. One uses objects, but one does not become covetous after objects, and one does not become rakish after objects. One uses objects, but does not over-enjoy objects. This is called vairagya, non-attachment. One gets bliss from objects that come from elsewhere, but one does not feel incomplete if they have not attained certain objects, and therefore does not run after objects. This is the feeling of vairagya, non-attachment. One also does not leave objects and run away, because this would also be an activity and not vairagya, non-attachment. Therefore, one does not leave the objects and run away. Third, he should have shat sampati, 6 types of wealth. What are the 6 types of wealth? They are, firstly, shama, control of the mind. Secondly, dhamma, control of the senses. Thirdly, uparati, peace of mind when the running of the mind has stopped. Fourth, titiksha, the attitude of being able to tolerate things. Fifth, shraddha, deep faith. And sixth, samadhan, resolved. Shri Krishna has explained all of these things in the Gita. Shri Krishna said in the 6th chapter of the Gita about uparati, peace of mind when the running of the mind has stopped, how one should perform meditation. Shane shane upramed, let him gain little by little tranquility. Slowly and slowly one gets uparati, peace of mind when the running of mind keeps reducing. In the 2nd chapter of the Gita, Shri Krishna has said about titiksha, the attitude of being able to tolerate things, that matra sparshasthu konteya shisto shonakra sukha dukha agnana pahino nityastam titasva bharata. Contacts with the objects, O son of Kunti, Arjun, give rise to cold and heat, pleasure and pain. They come and go and do not last forever. These learn to endure, O Bharata Arjun. These pleasures and pains of the sense objects come and go, and you must face them. You have to learn to tolerate them. Pleasures and pains come and go. These six things are called the Shat Sampati, 6 types of wealth, by our scriptures. I'm describing them in very brief because I can speak for 2 hours on these qualities. I can spend a whole day talking about these qualities. For example, I can talk about how Shama, control of the mind, comes, the different types of Shama, control of the mind, what Dhamma, control of the senses is, and the different types of Dhamma, control of the senses. Therefore, I will not go into their sub-classifications. Each of them is spoken about formulaically in the Patanjali Yoga Darshan. Therefore, 4 things come in Shubhecha: Vivek, discrimination; Vairagya, non-attachment; Shat Sampati, 6 types of wealth; and the 4th is Mumukshata, the wish to attain liberation. When these 4 things come, then one has reached the first step of yoga, which is Shubhecha. Then the second state comes, which is Vicharana, thinking deeply. This is the second field of yoga. In Vicharana, thinking deeply, 2 things come: hearing and thinking. These are the fields of yoga. When one listens to great things, and does not just stop at listening, but also thinks about them, then they reach another field of yoga, and the field of Gnan, wisdom, which is Vicharana, thinking deeply. Then the third state comes, which is Tanu Manasa, the integration of the body and mind. Tan means the body, and Manas means the mind. The mind and the body become one. This is the state of Tanu Manasa, the integration of body and mind. If I were to say in simple words, then this is Dhyan, meditation. Nidhi Dhyasan, Dhyan. This is the state of Tanu Manasa, the mind and the body become one. This is the third field. These first 3 fields are called the Sadhan Bhumika, the fields of the person on the path of yoga. Therefore, these are just the preparatory stages. Just like before you send a child to school, the child has to go through junior school or playgroup. The people who have gone through these 3 stages have gone through the junior school or playgroup and are not going to the senior school. If these people are juniors, then we should decide where we are in the path of yoga or in the path of Gnan, wisdom. These are fields, and these are the first 3 stages. After them, the 4th field comes, which is Sattva Apati, attainment of the truth, which is a field of fruits. Then one attains some consequences. What consequences does one get? One gets Brahma Sakshatkar, a vision of Brahman. This is Sattva Apati, attainment of the truth. One attains the truth. In this field, the yogi becomes grateful, yet he cannot yet experience the endless bliss of liberation for life. This is because 3 fields are still left. In the field of Sattva Apati, attainment of the truth, he becomes grateful and gets a vision of Brahman, but he does not get the endless bliss of liberation from life. He begins to get glimpses of the magic and realizes that I am on the right path. A person may come into the first 3 fields and sway off the path. This can happen. But when one reaches the field of Sattva Apati, attainment of the truth, then he gets a very steady resolve. God describes the state of Sattva Apati, attainment of the truth, in the 25th verse of the 14th chapter of the Gita, which we will see soon. The 5th stage that comes is Asansakti, feeling of non-attachment. This is described in the 24th verse of the 14th chapter of the Gita. Scriptures call this field of Asansakti, feeling of non-attachment, the Brahmavidvar Bhumika. In this field, the yogi is called Brahmavidvar. You can call the field of Asansakti, the indifference towards the material world, the Brahmaved Bhumika, the field of wisdom of Brahman. This can be split into the words Brahman, the Supreme Soul, and Vid, wisdom. This is because one has had the vision of Brahman. Now, what has gone one step further than this, and has gone from Brahmavid to Brahmavidvari? What happened here is that in the field of Asan Sakti, the feeling of non-attachment, the yogi is still performing activities and is performing actions. The sixth field in the field of Padartha Bhavini, the constant reveling in the realization of one's true self. Shri Krishna describes this field in the 25th verse of the 14th chapter of the Gita. The yogi who reaches this field is known as Brahma Vidariyan. Therefore first there was Brahmavid, then there was Brahmavidvar, and now there is Brahma Vidivariyan. This is what the yogi is now known as in this field. At that time the yogi himself does not become shaken, does not commit anything, does not get up and does not do anything, but if someone says something to him, then he does it. Through others' efforts he performs activities. And then the seventh peak state comes of Duryaga, realization that I am Brahman. God describes the state in the 22nd verse of this 14th chapter of the Gita. This is the state of Duryaga, realization that I am Brahman. This is the peak state. In this field the yogi is known as Brahma Vida Virishta. This is the state. Therefore first there was Brahmavid, then there was Brahma Vidvar, then there was Brahma Vidvarayan, and now there is Brahma Vidvarishta. This is the state that the yogi is at now. At this level the yogi does not become affected by either his or others' efforts. He is eternally in a state of samadhi, oneness with God, and therefore he attains this last field. This is the peak state. Now, in this background, we will make efforts to understand the meaning of this 22nd verse of this chapter. What happens to the person who has become gunatit, beyond the three modes of nature? First, prakash, illumination, is mentioned, which is an activity of the mode of sattva, goodness. Second, pravrittim, activity, is mentioned, which is an activity of the mode of rajas, passion. And third, moham, delusion, is mentioned, which is an activity of the mode of tamas, dullness. When these come, this person does not become repulsed by them, and if they go, then one does not have an attraction towards them and does not wait for them. One is completely steady on behalf of himself. Pravrittim, activity, is of the mode of rajas, passion, and is of two types: rag, attraction, and kriya, action. One type of activity is rag, attraction, and the second type of activity is activity of kriya, action. Activities of rag, attraction, are reasons for sorrow. There is an attraction or pull. One performs activities as a consequence. This activity is not there when one is in a state of being gunatit, free from the three modes of nature. In this state, there are no activities of rag, attraction. However, in this state, there are activities of kriya, action. The reason for this is that the body is there, and while the body is there, kriya, action, is going to carry on. Shri Krishna said in the 8th verse of the 3rd chapter of the Gita that Shariyatra api chete na prasidyat akramaha. Even the maintenance of your physical life cannot be effected without action. Very basic activities like eating, drinking, sleeping, getting up, bathing, sitting down, talking, etc. are going to continue. The activities of breathing are going to continue. One's blood circulation is going to continue. The beating of the heart is going to continue, and all these activities are going to continue. All of these are activities. These activities remain in this state. But all of these activities of the yogi of this state are without desire. And more, delusion, is a characteristic of the mode of tamas, dullness. But moham, delusion, is of two types. The first is the absence of vivek, a sense of discrimination, which is more delusion. This is when one does not have a sense of discrimination between the eternal and the temporary, the right and the wrong, right action and wrong action. One does not even know the difference between them, and there is an absence of the vivek, a sense of discrimination. This is more delusion. This more delusion is not there in the state of being gunatit, beyond the three modes of nature. But there is another more delusion, which are mistakes in everyday life, and a person in a state of being gunatit, beyond the modes of nature, can also perform these mistakes in everyday life. By everyday mistakes, I mean, for example, if a person has innocence. If a person has a lot of feelings and another person comes, deceives them, and everybody around him says, see how much he's exploiting you, he has deceived you, and you do not even know about it. This person in a state of being gunatit, beyond the three modes of nature, says, it does not matter, he has deceived me, let us leave it at that, at least he is happy. If you look at it in this one way, then this is a type of more delusion. This is because he did not realize. He may be in this type of more delusion, or there can be a confusion in matter. This is delusion as well. If one has gone into the desert, and just like we might see water in the sand, such a person might also see water in the sand. This is possible. One might also see snake in a rope. This can also happen. But the more delusion of the mode of tamas, where one cannot discriminate between the eternal and the temporary, is not there in a person who is in a state of being gunatit, beyond the three modes of nature. A person who is gunatit, beyond the three modes of nature, does not abhor illumination, activity and delusion when they arise, nor longs for them when they cease. Prakash, illumination, is an activity of the mode of sattva, goodness. Pravritim, activity, is an activity of the mode of rajas, passion. And moham, delusion, is an activity of the mode of tamas, dullness. When all of these three are there, then a person who is gunatit, beyond the three modes of nature, is not repulsed by them, and when they go, then a person who is gunatit, beyond the three modes of nature, does not wish for them. When an attitude comes, then he also does not think that, why has it come, it should go. And when it goes, then he should not think that, when will it come back. He is completely in a peaceful state. There are two types of attitude. The first is an attitude that one has, and the second is an attitude that is combined with action. To have an attitude is a universal thing. The whole activity of the material world is not something in our hands, and because it is not something that's within our hands, it is also not our responsibility. To have an attitude is a universal thing, but to perform an action in combination with attitude is a very human thing, and it's not a universal thing. It is something within our hands, and that is why the responsibility for it is ours. Secondly, the reason why I am speaking about a universal attitude is that each and every person has different attitudes. My attitudes are different, and another person's attitudes are different. Each and every person has different attitudes, but despite having different attitudes, the soul is the same in each and every person. A person who is gunatit, beyond the three modes of nature, does not get trapped in all these different attitudes. He sees the soul residing equally in each and every person. He experiences this. And thirdly, attitudes are transformative, and that is why they are destructible. Attitudes keep changing. Today we can have an attitude of love towards someone, and tomorrow we may have an attitude of hate towards them. Or we can have an attitude of rejection towards someone, and tomorrow we have an attitude of love towards them. Attitudes keep changing, and attitudes are transformative. And because wishes are transformative, they are destructible. On the other hand, what is the soul like? The soul is unchanging, and that is why the soul is indestructible. The soul is free from transformation. That is why the soul is indestructible. A person who is gunatit, beyond the three modes of nature, neither is repulsed or attracted to the fact that attitudes are there. But he himself does not have attitudes. This is the difference. I know that this may be difficult, but think about the fact that this is about the state of Turiyaga, realization that I am Brahman, and this is the peak state. This is the seventh state, and is a matter of experiencing. In the next verse, God goes further in his description of a person who is gunatit, beyond the three modes of nature. The first question that Arjuna asked was, what are the characteristics of a person who is gunatit, beyond the three modes of nature? Gai lingas trin bhavati. God showed this in this verse. Now Arjuna's second question is, what is the conduct of a person who is gunatit, beyond the three modes of nature, kimchara, like? Shri Krishna shows this in a 23rd verse.